You weren't born broken. You were built broken, on purpose, by everyone who needed you small enough to control. Sit with that for a second. Every insult, every door closed in your face, every room you walked into where the silence told you exactly where you stood. None of that was random. It was a system, a quiet, deliberate machine designed to keep you exactly where they could see you, and exactly where you couldn't rise. They don't fear your failure. Failure is comfortable for them. Failure means you stay predictable. What they fear, what actually keeps them up at night, is you deciding one ordinary Tuesday that you're done asking for permission to exist. That decision doesn't come with fireworks. Nobody claps. There's no crowd. It happens in a quiet room, usually at 2 a.m., when you're staring at a ceiling and every voice that ever doubted you starts playing on a loop in your skull. And instead of breaking under it, something shifts. You stop hearing it as pain. You start hearing it as evidence. Evidence that you were never meant to survive on their terms. Let's talk about your demons. Not the movie version demons, not some smoke and mirrors metaphor. Your actual demons. The 3 a.m. thoughts that whisper you're not enough. The flinch you get when someone raises their voice. The version of you that still apologizes for taking up space in a room you were invited into. Those demons were installed. Somebody put them there. Maybe it was a parent who never said, "I'm proud of you." Maybe it was a teacher who wrote you off before you turned 15. Maybe it was a room full of people who laughed at the wrong moment and never once apologized. Doesn't matter who. What matters is this. Those demons have been running your decisions since before you had the language to notice. And here's the part nobody tells you. You don't kill your demons by outrunning them. You kill them by turning around and staring straight into them until they blink first. Most people spend their entire lives negotiating with their own fear. Bargaining. I'll do it when I feel ready. I'll speak up when I have more proof. I'll change when the timing is right. That's not patience. That's surrender wearing a disguise. The timing is never right. The proof never feels like enough. Readiness is a myth invented by people too scared to move without a guarantee. You don't get a guarantee. You get a choice. Right now. Today. There is a version of you that is still asleep. Still performing the same script everyone expects. Still shrinking in rooms where you should be expanding. That version is comfortable. That version is liked. That version gets invited to things because it never threatens anyone's ego. And that version is going to watch, from a distance, as the real you walks past it. Because something happens when a person finally stops asking the world for approval. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's a cold, quiet click, like a switch flipping somewhere behind your ribs. You stop explaining yourself. You stop performing your pain for people who only wanted a front row seat, not a solution. You stop shrinking your ambition down to a size that makes other people comfortable. And the second you do that, the room changes. People feel it before they understand it. There's a shift in how they look at you. A hesitation before they speak to you. A flicker of confusion, because the version of you they knew, the one they could predict, the one they could manage, isn't answering anymore. That's the moment they start calling you cold. Let them. Cold isn't the absence of feeling. Cold is what happens when you felt everything, every betrayal, every dismissal, every moment you were overlooked, and you decided you weren't going to bleed out loud for people who never once checked if you were breathing. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is a weapon you sharpen in private and use in public without saying a single word. Think about every person who ever underestimated you. Think about the specific tone they used. The way they looked slightly past you instead of at you. The way your ideas got ignored until someone louder repeated them 5 minutes later and suddenly it was brilliant. You remember that. Of course you remember that. That memory isn't a wound anymore. It's fuel. It's the exact reason your discipline doesn't need motivation to survive. Because motivation is emotional and emotions fade. But that memory is permanent. It's carved in. And carved in things don't need daily maintenance. They just sit there, quietly, waiting for you to need them. Here's a harsh truth nobody wants to hand you gift. Wrapped the world does not owe you recognition for your pain. It doesn't matter how hard your story is. Pain is not a currency that automatically converts into respect. What converts into respect is what you build while nobody's watching. What you become while everyone assumed you'd stay exactly where they left you. Most people quit right before the version of themselves they've been chasing finally shows up, right before the breakthrough, right when the resistance gets loudest, because resistance always gets loudest right before it breaks. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. Every person who's ever built something real hit that exact wall. The wall where quitting suddenly feels reasonable, feels mature, feels like just being realistic. That wall isn't the end of the road. It's the last checkpoint before the terrain changes completely. You want to know the actual difference between people who transform their lives and people who talk about transforming their lives. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even intelligence. It's their relationship with discomfort. The ones who change learn to sit inside discomfort without flinching. The ones who stay stuck spend their entire lives trying to escape any feeling that isn't pleasant. Discipline isn't about liking the work. Discipline is doing the work while every cell in your body is screaming for you to stop. Discipline is waking up on the morning you don't feel like it, and moving anyway, not because you're inspired, but because you made a decision weeks ago that inspiration would never be the deciding factor again. That's the separation point. That's where the ghosts get made. The people who quietly, without announcement, without a highlight reel, become someone their past self wouldn't recognize. Let's talk about isolation, because nobody prepares you for this part. The climb is lonely. Nobody warns you that becoming the version of yourself you're proud of will cost you relationships. Friendships that only worked because you were both stuck at the same level. People who liked you better when you were smaller, because your smallness made them feel safe about their own stagnation. You will lose people on this path, not because you did anything wrong, but because growth has a frequency, and not everyone can survive the shift. Some people were only ever meant to be in the waiting room with you, not in the room where the real work happens. That loneliness is going to try to convince you that you made a mistake. It's going to whisper that maybe you were better off staying quiet, staying agreeable, staying exactly where everyone expected you to stay. Don't listen to that voice. That voice is not wisdom. That voice is fear wearing a disguise made of nostalgia. The strongest people you've ever respected, the ones whose presence alone commands a room, they didn't get that way by staying comfortable. They got that way by spending years in rooms by themselves, building something nobody clapped for, becoming someone nobody validated in real time. And one day, without any warning, the world looked up and suddenly acted like it always believed in them. That's the part that should make you furious and calm at the same time. Furious because you'll remember exactly who doubted you. Calm because you already know you don't need their permission to keep going. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about the version of you that keeps sabotaging your own progress. You know the one. The version that procrastinates right when things start working. The version that finds a reason to quit right before momentum kicks in. That's not laziness. That's fear wearing the mask of practicality. Because deep down, some part of you is terrified of what happens if you actually become who you're capable of becoming. Success isn't just intimidating because it's hard. It's intimidating because it's permanent. Once you prove to yourself what you're capable of, you can never again pretend you don't know. You lose the comfort of low expectations. You lose the safety net of, I never really tried. That's why so many people stay stuck at 70%. 70% effort protects the ego. If you fail at 70%, you can always say you didn't really try. But full effort, real all-in, no excuses effort, strips that safety net away completely. If you go all in and it doesn't work, you have to face the truth. And most people would rather live in comfortable uncertainty than face an uncomfortable truth. You are not most people. Not anymore. Because right now, listening to this, something in you already knows the version of comfortable uncertainty is over. You already feel the shift happening. That restlessness in your chest. That's not anxiety. That's your old identity dying and your new one refusing to wait any longer. Let it die. Let every version of you that apologized for your ambition, Every version that shrank in rooms. Every version that explained yourself to people who never deserved an explanation. Let all of it die right here. Because what's coming next requires a version of you with no patience left for your own excuses. Here's what nobody tells you about revenge. The real kind, not the petty kind. Real revenge doesn't involve confrontation. It doesn't involve proving anyone wrong to their face. Real revenge is silent. Real revenge is you becoming so undeniable that the people who doubted you have to watch it happen from a distance. Powerless to take credit. Powerless to pretend they saw it coming. That's the quiet, cold satisfaction that no apology could ever give you. You don't need them to admit they were wrong. You need to become someone their opinion can no longer touch. There's a specific moment, and if you've done any real work on yourself, you already know the one, where you stop needing external validation completely. Not because you don't care about people, but because you finally understand that your worth was never actually up for a vote. You were never behind. You were building in a season nobody else could see. Every setback, every rejection. Every night you spent wondering if you were wasting your time, none of that was wasted. It was calibration. It was your mind and body being forged into something that can handle weight most people would collapse under. The pain you hate right now. The pain you keep trying to numb, distract, or outrun. That pain is building someone stronger. Not metaphorically, literally. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are rewiring your own psychology. You are teaching your nervous system that discomfort is not a threat. It's a doorway. And the more doors you walk through, the less any single obstacle can control you. This is how ghosts get made. People who move without needing announcements. People who build in silence and let the results speak on their behalf. People who stopped explaining their vision to rooms that were never going to understand it anyway. You don't owe anyone a preview of your comeback. You don't owe anyone updates on your progress. You don't owe anyone the satisfaction of watching you struggle in real time. Disappear. Build. Return only when the results can speak for themselves, because results don't get interrupted, questioned, or argued with. Results just sit there, undeniable, forcing everyone who doubted you to recalibrate their entire opinion in silence. Let's be honest about something else too. You are going to have days where none of this feels true. Days where the doubt comes back louder than ever. Days where you look at your progress and it feels too slow, too small, too far from where you thought you'd be by now. Those days are not proof that you're failing. Those days are proof that you're still in it. The people who actually quit don't have those days anymore, because they stopped caring enough to feel discouraged. Discouragement is a sign of investment. You don't get discouraged about things you don't care about. So when that heaviness hits, don't panic. Don't spiral into thinking it means something's wrong with you. It means you're human, and you're still moving despite being human. That's the entire definition of discipline. Not the absence of doubt, but the refusal to let doubt make your decisions for you. Every elite performer you've ever admired has had that exact same 2 a.m. moment. The moment where they questioned everything. The difference between them and everyone else who stayed stuck wasn't the absence of that moment. It was what they did the next morning. They got up anyway. Not because they felt ready. Not because the doubt disappeared, but because they had already decided, long before that moment arrived, that feelings would never again be allowed to run their entire operation. That's the separation point. That's always been the separation point. So here's your assignment. And it's not complicated, even though your mind is going to try to make it complicated, because complication feels like an excuse to delay. Pick one thing. One decision you've been avoiding because it's uncomfortable. One conversation you've been putting off. One habit you know is quietly sabotaging you. One version of yourself you keep promising you'll become, eventually. Eventually isn't a plan. Eventually is where dreams go to expire quietly, without anyone noticing, without any funeral, without any acknowledgement that something that mattered simply stopped happening. Don't let your ambition become one more thing you eventually got around to. Move today. Not perfectly. Not with some grand cinematic gesture. Just move. One decision. One uncomfortable action. One small proof to yourself that the version of you who talks about change is finally being replaced by the version who executes it. Because somewhere out there, right now, there's a version of your life that's already waiting for you to catch up to it. A version where the doubt doesn't control you anymore. A version where silence is your weapon instead of your prison. A version where the people who wrote you off have to watch, from a distance, as you become exactly what they said you never would. That version isn't a fantasy. It's a decision away. And the only thing standing between you and that version of yourself is whether you're willing to stop negotiating with your own fear long enough to take the first step. So take it, right now. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not when the timing lines up perfectly. Now. Because the version of you that's still waiting on permission has been waiting long enough.